Hello everyone, we are back in the workshop after quite some time actually. I think we haven't been here about a week or two, so the rear axle is done. I'm going to show you that in a minute, but now the more interesting body stuff is that the inner portion is now finished. I think I'm going to spray this red, and now we're going to put out the outer sheet metal on, so it's going to be fixed. We're going to weld it onto the inner portion, so we have actually put on the doors so we could adjust the gap, so it's going to be correct, because if you would be welding this now and then you put on the doors and then you see that the gap is wrong, then you have a problem. So this is all coming now, and I'm going to show you what we've done with the rear axle. So what you see right now is we have drilled the holes for spot welds. Now we have these holes to connect the outer one with the inner one, and these ones down this line to connect it to the other one of the side. Now we also have the one to connect the edge. You need to penetrate through the outer one and kind of make a point where you're going to weld it onto the inner one. Now it's time to do some spot welding. So what we've done right now is we have put on the doors. So now before we're going to weld this onto the car, we have to check the gaps. So you have to check the rear gap, because in the front A pillar will determine the position of the door. Now also we have to be careful that it closes nicely, because you cannot adjust it anymore, because these hinges are fixed on these cars. So you have to get them right when you are welding it on, because you have no room for mistakes later on, because you cannot adjust anything. Now we're going to test Fit the Fender also, and we're going to probably do the jacking point before we weld it completely, just to be sure that everything will stay in its place. But now we have everything set up. We have these bolts here, so it clamps onto the other part tightly, so we don't have to use those claws. Now with the rocker or the seals, we have a nice gap here. You also have to be mindful that you're going to put the seal onto the edge, so this will affect your position of the door also. So here we're going to make this edge a little bit better once we change the seal also, because the floor lip is actually bigger than the old seal. You can see that some of the spot welds were on the edge, so we're going to do this later, but you still have to be careful that you have a nice gap between the door and the seal. Here you'll put the seals in, so it's going to repel water and a little bit of wind noise. And now you have to close the door, and it should close like that, but I didn't do it all the way. They should close like that. So everyone, this is the rear axle. As you can see, we have welded the spring seats. Now that this is over, I am cleaning off the rear axle. I've taken off this one, and we're probably going to get rid of the rust. I'm either going to sandblast it or brush it off and grind it. This requires a little bit of elbow grease, but I don't know. We'll see. Okay, it's decided. I'm going to try and clean this one myself without sandblasting to see where the elbow grease takes us. And by elbow grease I mean the grinder and the drilling machine. But you know, let's see what we can achieve without sandblasting and see what kind of result we get. And if we're not satisfied, we can still get it sandblasted. And if we're satisfied, we have saved some money and we have tried something new. So that's always nice.
During this time we have also been working on jacking points of the car that were at the time unavailable, but I see that they are available at Dr. Manta shop now. We have decided to use steel profiles to do them, and we have visited a friend that has an Opel Manta to take their measurements and make cardboard templates to help us along the way. Now the jacking points that we made are a little bit stronger than the originals, and we have made a little adjustment on the inside just to connect the chassis rail to the A pillar a little bit better, not just with the floor of the car. But these are the steps that we took. As you can see, we have used the template to determine the curvature and the contour of the jacking point. Here you can see how it's supposed to look, and making a curvature you can see the master working his magic and cutting out the triangles to make a bend. Then we inserted a tube that needs to be inside and made a lip out of 5mm steel. Here is the disassembly and then the assembled product that needs a little bit more refinement.
Hello friends, so this is day 2 or 3 probably with the jacking points. I haven't been filming it because I had empty GoPro and some other stuff and I just couldn't find time, but now I'm going to update you with the jacking points. This is where we are now. So as you can see, we have them curved to the contour of the floor. We have this baby here. We have done this I think from 6mm steel, so this should be pretty solid, and a 3mm tube. This will go here. It's going to be spot welded here, and then probably some stitch welds around. Then we need to close off the front face, so this will follow. Now we have also been opening up the rear seal rocker area. As you can see, we found a lot of rust underneath. My dad is now conquering this, and I will attempt to do the housing for the spare wheel because it's very rusty. Now I'm going to use 2mm sheet metal on the inner side where the ring for the towing is. For instance, when you go into a ditch and someone tows you out, you have like a ear that you can hook up to another car, and then he can pull you out. This needs to be pretty strong. It's surprisingly weakly made on this car, and I would like to make the design a little bit better. So we're going to use 2mm sheet metal there and probably 1mm around it. I will try to do this today. And what else? Yes, we have the A pillar is almost completely finished. We're still missing the reinforcement, but this will come. So now we need to prep things so the rocker can go on, and rear arches and other stuff. We have repaired the rear axle. This needs to be sandblasted. This will get done. So we have a lot of things coming up our way, so stay tuned. Okay, so now we have this bit here, we have bent it. Now I have ran into a little problem because I don't have the tools needed to complete that spare wheel compartment thingy. So I'll have to figure something out. I don't know yet what I'm going to do, to be honest. So I'm going to take a break from that. I'm going to leave it, let the ideas marinate a little bit, and maybe we get a better idea. Now, I don't know if I showed you this, but in the inside of the quarter panel, as you can see, we have this old protection that I do not fancy one bit. So I'll let you now come to have a beer with me and maybe we can clean this stuff out. Then I have also ran through this stuff where we have made welds. I brushed it off with drilling machine and this bit here. You have multiple versions of these brushes, like this one is a little bit bigger one. So I have cleaned off the welds and stuff like that and put protection on using just a can of the cheapest color there is, because we're going to brush this thing off anyways to put on epoxy primer. So this is just for the time being, so it doesn't rust while it's sitting here, because you once the metal is exposed in like 2-3 weeks, if it's moisture and it has been raining for a few days now, you can actually see the spots starting to appear of rust. So we've done all this stuff. I still have the inside. This thing is not fully welded yet, so I'm not going to paint it, because we're going to weld it and then grind off the welds, and I'll do everything then. So yeah, we are continuing with our mission. So yep, it's progress. It's slow, but it's still progress.